Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on the IHI Call 10 on enabling and safeguarding innovation in secondary use of health data in the European health data space. My name is Nasima, and I'm going to be your moderator today. And before we start, I just want to share some information with you. If we move to the next slide. So first, we are recording this session and we will publish it on the IHI website just after this webinar, and we will also publish the presentation slides. The call will be officially launched shortly, and all the links and details of how to apply will be published on the IHI website and the funding and tenders portal. If you have any question, you are welcome to send them anytime via the Q&A function on the bottom right of your screen. Just send them in to us and we will get them at the end of the presentation. So today we have a few people online. We have Paloma, who is scientific officer for this topic, and she's going to kick off the presentation. We also have Simon Bates from Johnson & Johnson and Marcus Schwarzkopf from Sanofi. They are going to present the topic itself. And we also have Carolina, who is our legal officer. So now I will hand over to Paloma.
Thank you very much, Nasima. And thank you very much to the participants for joining this webinar on Call 10 topic 2. In today's webinar, we will start with a few words on the IHI program, followed by the topic writers' participation that will introduce the topic content to you, the two co-industry co-leads of the topic. We will briefly cover the submission and evaluation process, as well as some tips for interested applicants. Please note that today we will not cover rules and procedures because there will be a specific webinar that will take place tomorrow, and the content of this webinar will be published online. Just a few words on the Innovative Health Initiative. That is a new partnership in health between the European Union, that is represented by the European Commission, and different DGs are represented, and the healthcare industry associations that are represented by COSIR, which is representing the medical imaging, radiotherapy, health, ICT, and electromedical industries, FPA, that includes Vaccines Europe, that represent the pharmaceutical and the vaccine industries, Europa Bio, that represents the biotech industry, and MedTech Europe, that is representing the medical technology industry. We have three main general objectives at IHI that are established in the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, and are to turn health research and innovation into real benefits for patients and society, to deliver safe, effective health innovations that cover the entire spectrum of care, and that means from prevention to diagnosis and treatment, and in particular in the areas where there is an unmet public health need. And last but not least, to make Europe's health industry globally competitive. And maybe it's also important for you to know two of the main characteristics of the IHI projects. First of all is the openness. All the projects in IHI are generated via an open and competitive call for proposals. And the second main character is the cross-sectorial nature of the project, that are public-private partnerships that aims to leverage contribution from the industrial partners, that are from the industry association that I briefly introduced in a previous slide. Also, if relevant, contribution from the contributing partners, that this must be approved by the IHI governing board, and leveraging funding, public funding from the European Commission via the Horizon Europe program. The Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda is the guiding document that defines the areas in which IHI should work, and also helps to guide the organization decision-making process and and ideas that should be turned into call topics. The focus of the this document, the focus of the IHI, is a cross-sectoral approaches to facilitate the creation of new products and services to prevent, intercept, diagnose, treat, and manage diseases and foster recovery more efficiently, with the goal of laying the foundations for development of safer and more effective healthcare product or solution that can respond to unmet public health needs and that can be implemented into healthcare systems. It's important to mention here the pre-competitive level of the research that is supported by IHI, as there is an expectation from the industry partners to work together, to collaborate. If you want to have a look at the research, at this document, the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, you have the link here. Before going into the topic content, I would like to share with you how the two-stage calls work. We have the call topic texts that are prepared by the pre-identified industry consortium that have aligned to work on the same challenge and commit resources. Once these topics that are included in the work program are approved by the governing board, the call for proposals is launched. And at the stage one of the proposal submission, the pre-identified industry consortium steps aside, and it's the applicant consortium who will have to prepare a short proposal addressing the expected outcomes specified in the topic text, together with the scope. This applicant consortium is typically formed by academics, hospital, regulators, patients organizations, SMEs, or for-profit entity with an annual turnover of less than 500 million. And this short proposal should be submitted by the deadline of the stage one and will undergo a competitive independent evaluation process by a panel of independent experts. The expert panel then will prepare a ranking list, and only the first ranked proposal will be invited to the second stage. At this stage, the applicant consortium of the first ranked proposal will need to prepare the full proposal together with the pre-identified industry consortium that already prepared the topic test. And this full proposal will be evaluated by a panel of experts, and if the evaluation is successful, they will be invited to prepare the grant agreement that will lead to the signature of the grant, and then the consortium will be able to kick the project once the grant is signed. And now I would like to hand over to the topic writers, Simon and Marcus, that will introduce the content of the topic. And after the presentation, I will finalize with the rest of the content for you today. Simon, I will hand over to you now.
Thank you, Paloma, and thanks to Nassima for hosting us today. And thanks to everyone on the call. I see we have 85 attendees, so that's great. I'm looking forward to talking to you a bit today about the topic text and our proposal. As you can see on this slide, the topic text is looking at enabling and safeguarding innovation in secondary use of health data in the European health data space. So I'm going to start off the presentation before handing over to Marcus. So I'm going to start with looking at the challenge and the reason why we came together to put this topic text together. As I believe everyone on the call is probably aware, the EHDS has been established consequential to the digital and data strategy of the EU, and it has the ambition of basically empowering the digitization of data and health data and enabling exchanges of data to advance healthcare. And those exchanges break down into two key uses. That's the primary use and the secondary use. And our focus for this topic, and I'll go into the challenges in a second, is specifically looking at secondary use of health data, but specifically for the purpose of research and innovation. And that leads to the challenges that we're looking to address. The first of those challenges is that We recognize the importance and the massive potential for data-driven healthcare in innovation, and that there will be massive societal benefits that will come along with that. But through this topic text, we want to explore how those societal benefits can be achieved, whilst also balancing and maintaining the IP system that's been established and been running alongside businesses in innovation for many years, and how we can look at balancing benefits of data-driven healthcare with maintaining and protecting and safeguarding the IP framework. For this topic, we also want to look at how we can actually equip people who are interested in using the European health data space to actually conduct data-driven healthcare innovation through the European health data space. There, we're really looking at equipping all the relevant actors and participants with the tools and knowledge that they'll need so that they can understand what the European health data space is, how it will function, but also how they can use it to conduct their innovation and innovative activities. We also want to look at how the EHDS will operate from a legal, an ethical, and a practical standpoint. And there we're kind of really focused on how we can develop and recommend frameworks and guidelines that will enable the protection of data that will be shared through the EHDS, and also safeguard the innovation that actually goes into the creation of that data in the first place, but also the use of that data and the results of that data through innovation purposes through the EHDS. And finally, we want to explore the concerns and address the challenges associated with commercial and competition sensitive data, and particularly with the backdrop of trust, and also the prevention of risk and unauthorized use of the data that's being disclosed under the EHDS. So that's pretty much it for the challenges. So Paloma, move on to the next slide. Thank you. So the primary message on this slide is that the EHDS will impact us all, and it is important that it does so in positive ways. And our piece here is looking at making sure that those positive ways are also reflected in the way innovation happens and in the way innovation is conducted through the EHDS. And with that in mind, we believe that particularly health data holders, health data users, the health data access bodies, and everyone involved with the secure processing environments and setting those up and forming the backbone, the federated networks and so on and so forth, need to come together to assess how the European health data space will support, encourage, and make sure that innovation through the EHDS takes place in an optimal way. And for that reason, that's why we believe that the public and private sector need to come together and collaborate on this, so that we can create the right solutions that are balancing IP protection with data sharing and also utilization for research and innovation. And that we want to make sure that we are developing frameworks that work for all participants, all actors that will have a role in the EHDS. And with that, we hope that we will actually achieve, certainly for innovative purposes, a building of trust and confidence in the system, and make sure that it is as successful as possible from an innovation perspective. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. I don't know, Paloma, if we're pausing now for questions or we're waiting for questions at the end.
We will go for the questions after the presentation, at the end of the presentation.
Okay, thank you. So in that case, I'll hand over to Marcus.
Thank you, Simon. I hope you can all hear me very clearly. So I want to expand a little bit on what Simon already introduced. It is a very good time for us to talk about EHDS right now, because as we recently learned, EHDS is going to move to the final completion, and it is going to be issued as legislation relatively soon. And the secondary use of health data is regulated starting with Articles 50 of EHDS and going forward. And as we already mentioned, the data sharing requirements and capabilities of EHDS are pretty broad for all participants that are required to share data under the EHDS, which includes public and private data holders. So what we need to achieve as a consortium is to generate or enable and making sure that the EHDS unfolds its innovation potential and power and societal benefits for people living in Europe and researchers and companies working on solving health issues globally. And in order to do so, it is important to, at the same time, enable the access to health data, because it is what is going to power future health innovation, but at the same time, keeping a strong IP system, because much of this data is very expensive to generate. Next slide, please. So how is this project going to, or this topic going to solve this? The project will require a lot of research into potential issues and the need for or sensitive areas, basically, and we will need to provide to the HDAPs as well as to legislators recommendations, suggestions, and frameworks for processes, policies, and guidelines to support the procedural and operational aspects of working in and living with the EHDS in multiple ways. We think that it is important that the EHDS is transparent, but it is also easy to use for all participants, and it is understandable, and therefore we need to put more information around how the EHDS is supposed to be implemented. With that follows that we need recommendations to inform the EHDS governance to achieve this balance between efficient data sharing and maintaining strong IP systems. And also we need to open the door for dialogue between all of these three major stakeholders, keeping in mind that most of the data holders will also be data users and vice versa at some point. And then we need to instill trust in using the EHDS by educating the parties that are subject to the EHDS regulation and that are interested in using the EHDS. Next slide, please. All that will lead to fostering innovation based on the data that will be made available under the EHDS. We will be able to establish a world-leading approach in the IP protection of data. We will create the right balance between data utilization and access control rights. We will create best practices that will make the use of EHDS more efficient than if we don't provide these best practices. We will be able to create recommendations for legal and ethical standards, and thereby will increase the confidence in the EHDS. Next slide, please. So the industry consortium is visible on the left-hand side of the slides with a number of industries from different areas. Many of them come from the pharmaceutical and or medical devices space, but we also have data brokers and data management specialists as part of the industry consortium. They will contribute their expertise in how health data is used. They know very well data sharing environments already through private partnership or private consortium, as well as public-private partnerships, which are well established. And they have expertise in IP and trade secret management and in how IP can be protected. Next slide, please. So now let me hand over back to Simon, who will lead you through the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Marcus. So I'm just going to talk a bit about what we envisage the expected contributions of the applicants to be. I hope you can understand that the sort of there's a few different aspects to this topic. There's legal and ethical aspects. There's technical aspects. There's aspects to data management. There's also various things around data sets and big data users and big data holders and what have you. And right now there are member states considering how to set up their health data access bodies, how the understanding how the federated data network will work, and so on and so forth. We consider that actually that kind of broad cross section of people, of organizations, is going to be quite beneficial to work with for this project. So as you can see on this slide, we believe that academic or research organizations involved in innovation and competition with expertise in legal and IP would be useful to form part of the applicant consortium. Information security and risk management experts. We think that cybersecurity will be really important in this, but also just understanding how to classify data, how it will be, how it's held, how you go about protecting it, and what have you. That sort of expertise is going to be very, very useful and beneficial. Then there's going to be the hospital networks, who are going to be health data holders and probably health data users as well. So bringing that understanding, that expertise in both how it's managed and how data is used is going to be essential to the success of this project. Implementers of large digital healthcare infrastructures for primary and secondary data use. Again, we need to make sure that we're striking the right balance here, and all of the kind of applicant consortium as well as the industry consortium will come together to make sure that we're looking at how we can achieve as much openness as possible to enable the EHDS to actually achieve its mission and its ambition of data-driven healthcare innovation, whilst also recognizing that various layers in that, the data holders and the data users, are also going to be interested in protecting their own intellectual property, their own innovations as well. So finding that right balance and then enabling that to actually operate and function through the EHDS is going to be key. We also would very much appreciate project management expertise and organizations of large multi-stakeholder European public-private partnerships, so that we can make sure that this project is well managed, this program is a success, and everyone kind of knows what they're doing, and we're all working together in harmony along the timelines that we've agreed. Those with legal expertise. So here we're looking at privacy, transparency, data protection, both from a privacy standpoint, but also from an IP standpoint. That kind of expertise and that knowledge and experience with guiding and helping make sure that we're all living into the expectations that we have around data and data sharing is going to be essential. Finally, from an expertise side, we'd be very interested in working with anyone involved, from ministries or associations interested in establishing health data access bodies and secure processing environments. We'd be very much interested in working with those organizations and those experts part of this project. And finally, because we want to enable various aspects of what we do through use cases, it would be great to have public accessible data sets at our disposal to be able to use and leverage through this program. Next slide. So this is the actually the final slide of the prepared material. So here it's just a quick call out on some of the key facts. So the industry contribution for this is going to be about 5.8 million euros, and that's going to be in-kind contributions. And then there is an additional 70,500 euros from contributing partners. And that's going to end up meaning that the IHI joint undertaking contribution available is going to be in the region of 6 million euros. And the project itself, we're obviously planning it to start in 26, and it will last, at this point in time, it's envisaged to last for 36 months, so that'll be until 2029. Okay, so that's all we prepared for today. So I'll hand it back to Paloma and Nassima.
Thank you very much, Simon and Marcus, for the very comprehensive introduction of the topic. At this point, I need to make here an announcement, is that please do not contact the topic writers during the process of the proposal preparation. I will move to the next part of the presentation. That will be the last before the questions, and it will be a short overview of what is expected from your side and from our side also once that the call is launched. From the point of view of proposal preparation, the applicants will need to prepare a short proposal. The different elements of the short proposal are the part A, the part B, and the annexes. The part A is the administrative data that will have to be entered via the funding and tenders portal in some web forms. The part B is the narrative part of the proposal and includes 3 sections that are excellence, impact, and quality and efficiency of the implementation. Well, it seems very obvious, but we always ask to read carefully the proposal template. At this stage, well, at the first stage, because this is a 2-stage call, the page limit is 20 pages. So you need to be very concise and precise when preparing the narrative part. And also you will have to upload some annexes in which you will need to encode the type of participant that will take part in the applicant consortium. Then after the proposal submission, the proposal will undergo an evaluation, the short proposal at the stage 1. And you need to really understand that only the proposal with the highest mark will move to the second stage. So the proposals will be evaluated based on 3 criterion, and these 3 criterion basically correspond to the narrative part of the proposal, the part B, in which you have some criteria for excellence on the clarity and pertinence of the objectives, the soundness of the proposed methodology, on the impact. I'm not going to read all the way the different criteria, but you have also the implementation criteria, the quality and efficiency of the implementation. What is very important for you to remember is that you have for each criteria a threshold of 3 out of 5, but then you have an overall threshold of 10 out of 15. So that means having in mind that only the first round proposal will be selected and will be invited to the second stage, is that it's not only necessary to go beyond the threshold of the individual and the overall, is that you really need to have a very high score to be selected, because there will be only one short proposal that will make it to the next phase. Here I would like to share with you some tips for potential applicants. Well, the first is that to go deeply into the call relevant material, especially the topic test. You can find everything in our website, in the IHI website. To have, when you start prepare your consortium, start as soon as possible to build your consortium, having this mindset of a public-private partnership in mind, and remind that only the first rank consortium will go forward and will have to join to prepare the full proposal with the pre-identified industry consortium. So Simon and Marcus have explained very well what the industry is bringing into the topic, and also they have provide some information that you will have it complete in the topic test about the expected expertise and resources that the public consortium should bring. So ensure the best possible match and complementarity with the pre-identified industrial consortium. This is our tip for you at this stage. Of course, ensure that all the information requested in the call text and the proposal template is provided, or make a good check of everything to allow the evaluation expert to easily assess your proposal, to easily identify the key aspects of the proposal that will be evaluated against this evaluation criteria that I mentioned before. And also consider at this stage and plan for the potential regulatory impact of the results that the results of your project may have. And I think that this is, together with the tip of finding the project partner, this is my last slide. If you, because you will need to build or join a consortium, here are some resources that you can use. You can use the partner search tool in the EU Funding and Tenders portal. You can get in touch with your national contact point for IHI, and there you have the link in the slide, or of course network on social media. You can always follow us on LinkedIn. And I think that this is all. Now we will move to the I think to the questions and answer. I will stop sharing, and I thank you for your attention in advance.
Thank you, Paloma. Before we move to the Q&A session, so I can see that we only have three questions so far in the Q&A box. So I really encourage you to drop your question, because this is really your only opportunity to get the information from the topic writers. As Paloma said, you are not allowed to contact them during the process. So please ask your question. We still have 27 minutes before the end of this webinar. And I would also like to promote, so we still have one webinar tomorrow on the rules and procedure for Call 10. It will be our last webinar on the IHI Call Days. And we also have a contributing partners webinar, a dedicated one on the 30th of January. So if you haven't registered, I would encourage you to do so. So I'm going to start with the first question. So someone is asking, can you please remind me about the timelines, preparation, and potential kickoff date? I don't know who can take this one. I know that we have, sorry, Paloma, I will just add, we have a dedicated rules and procedure webinar tomorrow, and they will go into the timelines in detail. So I will encourage you as well to be in this webinar tomorrow.
Can I just clarify, is that question directed at the IHI process or the EHDS implementation process? I don't know if it's clear from the question.
No, the question is, I assume the general timeline. So that's why I encourage people to attend tomorrow's webinar, because they will go into the Call 10 timelines. So then we can move on to the next question. In the call text, page 20, it's really specific. It mentions elaborate use cases to explore aspects of EHDS from various perspectives. Considering the project duration, 3 years, are you expecting the elaboration of prospective use cases or instead the development of recommendation based on ongoing data spaces? I don't know, Simon or Marcus, would you like to take this one?
So I'll start. Marcus, you can perhaps join me. So with the elaborate use cases aspect, there are various things that we believe need to be considered, from simple as how the data user goes about accessing data and how the data holder goes about providing that data, through to data users requesting data from multiple sources across multiple member states from the EU, and how the Health Data Access Body will coordinate all of that, as well as respecting the various data holders' rights and interests in safeguarding the trade secrets, the privacy, and so on and so forth in that. And the idea behind the use cases is that we will then come to a kind of a common understanding of how the EHDS will operate or could operate, so that the interests of all parties are protected and reflected in the outcomes.
Thank you, Simon. The next question is, how does this IHI initiative align with TEHDS2, and what direction will that effort take with the implementation of the EHDS?
So our understanding of TEHDS2 is that it's not focused on the particular aspect that we've been asked to look at in this topic text. And really we're distinguished by having a focus on innovation and everything around innovation, from enabling it through to supporting and safeguarding it. Obviously, we are aware that TEHDS2 exists, and there are various other related initiatives, all looking at and exploring aspects or various other aspects of the European Health data space and how it will work and function and what have you. And we do intend to make sure that we are aligned and where appropriate, collaborate with TEHDS2.
Thank you, Simon. The next question is, will the industry consortium match the EU grant, or do applicants have to match it?
I think this is more of an organizational question, right?
I can reply to this. Yeah, indeed, is the industry that is already matching in a two-stage. The contribution is already committed. So is the industry consortium that matches the contribution. The applicant consortium does not need to match the contribution.
Yes,
of course.
Yes, indeed, there is no requirement from the applicant consortium to cover the 45%. As Paloma said, the pre-identified industry consortium is taking care of that. So that's one of the main differences between the single stage and two-stage calls, and this is a two-stage call, at IHI.
Thank you. Then we have, regarding the expected industry contribution, is it expected that the private partners will provide legal expert that can draft agreements as is requested in the call?
Yeah, so I would say that it would be very helpful for the project to have those skill sets on the private side as well. So we think that it is quite complex, and there is a request there is an option in the EHDS for data sharing agreements. And as I mentioned during my part of the presentation, industry, at least, as well as the public side, is quite used to sharing data. So we obviously want to build on this knowledge and experience.
Thank you, Marcus. Then we have another question. Can Swiss SMEs join IHI projects? I think this one is for you, Carolina.
Yes. We have a webinar tomorrow on rules and procedures in two-stage calls. We really invite everyone who's interested in the general legal rules to join that webinar, but it's tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. in the morning, Brussels times. But I can already say that Swiss SMEs may participate in IHI projects. Their eligibility for funding will depend on number of factors. This will be explained all tomorrow. So I invite you to register.
Thank you, Carolina. The next one, what are the typical success rates in calls with two stages as this one? Did it happen in the past that the highest ranked proposal failed in the second stage, and what will happen in such cases?
I can take this. I think that it's quite unlikely that the proposal failed in the second stage. But in the case that the proposal fails, or that they didn't manage to work with the pre-identified consortium as expected, it will go to the second rank proposal. So it's the first rank proposal is the desired, let's say, the most desired option, but there is always a second choice. So it will go to the second rank proposal if it doesn't if it doesn't succeed. Carolina, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I think this answers the question, and exactly as Paloma said, this is a very rare situation. Obviously, we can imagine such a situation, but it's not like it's something that is a big concern, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you. Then we move on to the next one. There is a mention of secure environments. Is the consortium expected to provide technical requirements in that respect?
We believe that there will be other consortiums looking at the secure processing environments and arriving at technical specifications for that. That being said, it is something that is of interest to us, and making sure that, for example, the right level of cybersecurity and data asset management and what have you is involved in the European health data space will be one of the things that we will have a keen focus on, as all of us will do. And I think when it comes to data sharing, it's important to have an eye on data leaks and data breaches and make sure that they don't happen. So it's not envisaged that we will be developing technical standards for that. However, it's not out of scope of considering whether or not we should be making recommendations for how to go about making sure that the EHDS operates in a very secure manner.
Thank you, Simon. Now the next one, you mentioned that the consortium should work on demonstrators and use cases. Are you expecting prospective use cases or analysis of ongoing pilot/initiative where several of these perspectives highlighted in the call text can be analyzed better?
I wouldn't say it's an either or. I would say it's both, because the EHDS will lead to new sharing scenarios of data because of the transparency into the data that is available. But obviously, we need to utilize the experiences that we all have with regards to data sharing and the complexities that come with sharing of sensitive data, because in this instance, we're mostly focusing on IP protected data. And that also answers a little bit one of the other questions, which was related to the timelines. Doing both in parallel will actually lead to an acceleration and more momentum in the project. And given the relatively short timelines that are available before the EHDS becomes effective and the secondary use requirements become effective, this is a beneficial aspect, or it would be beneficial for the project if we could do both in parallel.
Thank you, Marcus. Now the next one, regarding deliverables, the call mentions frequently frameworks, recommendation, etc. Are you expecting of the development/enhancement of technology to enable and safeguard innovation in the EHDS? Example, privacy enhancing technologies.
I would say no, but Simon, please chime in and expand on what I'm going to say right now. I would say no. One of the reasons is that we don't have a lot of time, and this is a very complex and very technical question. But there is a cross-link to IP protected data, because the way the data is shared might actually impact the IP risk. So if there are certain mechanisms in place or technologies in place, the IP concerns could actually be lowered or mitigated versus, for example, sharing of the raw data without any secure measure. So there is a correlation or a link between the two, but not necessarily the aspiration to create new secure environments.
Thank you, Marcus. I don't know, Simon, if you want to add anything? No? Perfect, thank you. Then the next one, I think it's for Carolina. How can we find the pre-identified consortium?
Well, please don't. Please don't look for the pre-identified industry consortium. This is a two-stage call. It's very important that the applicants that are now preparing their proposals do not contact the pre-identified industry consortium. In this procedure, you will be, in case your proposal is successful, you will be only one selected proposal will be put in contact with the pre-identified industry consortium after the evaluations of the short proposals. And then together, the pre-identified industry consortium and the selected first rank applicant consortium will join forces and prepare the full proposal. This was, I think this was described on the slides that Paloma presented. So I would suggest that perhaps you could, after this webinar, look back at those slides. But just to maybe say it again, it's very important that you do not look, do not contact the members of the pre-identified industry consortium. That would be a breach of confidentiality, equal treatment of applicants, and many other rules that govern our calls. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina. And now the next one, how are evaluators of projects selected? Is there a call for proposal for evaluators?
I can take this. So the evaluators are selected out of the database of expert evaluators. That is the general and common database in the funding and tenders portal under Horizon Europe. And they are selected, all of them are, of course, should be, first of all, independent without having any potential conflict of interest. This is like the first rule. And then they are selected according to the expertise and their profile in relation to the topic that they will be evaluating. This is what I can say from the evaluation. They evaluate the proposal at two stages in this this call, and normally we have a big pool of experts in the database, and there are like in between 4 to 6 experts to cover the different profiles, because these are very complex project with big consortium, different sectors, different profiles. So we need really different profiles to assess properly the proposals.
Thank you, Paloma. Will there be contributions of pilot data from the industry consortium for the use cases?
That's a good question, and unfortunately, I think at least I cannot answer it. Maybe Simon can, but it has not been specifically discussed in the setup of the consortium, but industry has a high interest in a successful project. So I would assume that industry is going to go back to the decision makers and to decide what can be made available and what not.
Thank you, Marcus.
If I can add something,
sure.
Nassima, to the expert evaluators, if anyone is interested in participating as an expert, the first thing that they need to do is to register as an expert in the Funding and Tenders portal. And we are always in the look for good experts. So once you register, you are also invited to send us an email to an email address that we have, experts@ihi.europa.eu, flagging your expert number, and then we will be able to assess if your profile matches the profile that we are looking for the expert evaluators.
Thank you, Paloma. The next one is, as the EHDS will have local implementations and also GDPR implementation is different locally, are these specific countries that the industry partners would like to focus on?
I'd answer not particularly. And the reason I say that is because one of the ambitions of the regulation of the European Health Data Space is to achieve harmony across the member states. So I actually think it's important that whoever we work with has that idea in mind, that we're as well as making sure it safeguards innovation and what have you, that is actually that emphasis on harmony that is being brought to the table. So we don't have a particular preconceived idea of who particularly we would like to work with, and to be honest, we'd be happy to work with whoever partner wants to join us and work with us on this endeavor.
Thank you, Simon. Another one, are healthcare startups also welcome to join?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I don't think it's any more than that.
And there is another one from the same person. For the use cases, do you want to have small pilots? And if yes, how many do you expect?
I won't answer that directly. I'll just say as many that are feasible within the timelines that we have. I think that'll be hopefully ironed out through the proposal stage. But yes, indeed, that is the intention.
Thank you, Simon. I'm just checking if we don't have any other question in. There is one. My colleague is telling me that there is one. Yeah, there is one. Will or should the call also look at the interplay with the Data Governance Act, namely provision for data altruism organization where data is not personal identifiable? Sorry.
That's I mean, one of the challenges of the EHDS is that it needs to fit into a wide range of different pieces of legislations, GDPR, IP, maybe from the public side, there are other regulations in play. We need to look at competition law, etc. So to the extent that those legislations could have an impact on the IP assessments, my answer would be yes.
I'll just quickly highlight that we mentioned other laws of the EU strategy for data in the topic text, and our intention was to mean Data Governance Act, Data Act, AI Act if it's relevant, and so on and so forth. So yes, the intention is to consider that and take that into account as well.
Thank you. Now we have a question. So considering the timeline and budget versus other IHI projects, are you expecting a slightly smaller consortium versus other IMI/IHI projects?
I'll ask the IHI team to answer that because I have no experience on this. What size of consortium we should be
We don't have
expecting.
this type of expectations. I would say, Paloma, do you agree?
No, I don't. No, we don't have this kind of expectations because the consortium, the composition of the consortium should reflect what is expected from the expertise and resources. So I think that this it will need to be the most suitable consortium, but not in terms of size, small or big. It should be the right one.
Yes, exactly. We do not have this type of requirements in terms of quantity. It's rather quality, I would say. It can be a big consortium, a small consortium. Well, not a problem for us. And also, by the way, it's not the IHI office that will be looking into that, but the independent expert during the evaluations, just to make sure that everyone understands that.
Yeah, true. Thank you, Carolina. Now I think we have the last question, if we don't have any more. If this is a 36-month project, but the EHDS implementing acts and TEDAS guidelines will be consulted on and decided over the next 24 months, how will this come together?
There's kind of two parts to that answer, really. One is we're very much aware of that, and that we hope that in discussing and aligning on the full proposal for the project, that we will front load the deliverables and programs and work streams that will need to be completed in 26 and get to work on those pretty quickly. Other ones will need to be in place to implement to influence how the secondary use aspects, which will kick into play 4 years after 4 years from the actual entry into force of the regulation. So those ones that we identify as being good to make sure that the EHDS operates properly from a secondary use standpoint, we can discuss how to sequence those. So it's going to be a sort of a twofold thing of taking stock of what we want to achieve, and then making sure we get the timelines right so that the deliverables of those work streams are timely.
Thank you, Simon. I don't see any other question in the Q&A. Yes, just one came in. Is there an idea of the relative proportion in which legal and information technology innovation are expected from the project?
The question has stumped me, I'm not going to lie. I can only answer that we believe there is a good aspect of legal innovation, but that legal innovation actually should underpin how the EHDS will operate, and where IT is appropriate to enable that, then yes, we expect innovations to arise in that area. In terms of proportion, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you what. I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you, Simon. So I think it's time for us to close the webinar. I don't see any more questions. So I will say thank you very much to Simon, Marcus, Paloma, and Carolina for the presentation and answering the question. Thank you to all of you for your interest, and I wish you a good luck with your proposal. And yes, I'm closing this webinar. Have a nice afternoon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.